Hey, what's going on, people? Another early AM morning hangout. Well, exactly, it's not that early AM. It's kind of late. And the reason I'm doing this is because it's kind of late because of yesterday. Many people will say, hey, what is the price of success? And I'm here to tell you the price of success is failure. Snafus, hiccups, problems, rocks in the road. There's so many things that when you look at being successful that people don't really want to talk about that are the true price of success. When you go ahead and get that big deal or that big sale or whatever it's going to be, that's not the price. That's the payment. That's the payment that you get. The price of success is dealing with all that bullshit that happens on the way to getting there. Because I'm getting ready to do some new training, and before I get into that, there is new YouTube training. And yesterday, crazy stuff happened, but we're rocking and rolling. If you want to take advantage of that, that'll be the first link below one of these blocks here. I hadn't decided yet, but there was going to be coming up soon some Craigslist training because I've learned some new tricks. I had some things that around the house that I literally just found on the street. I was out for my walk and I was like, oh, here's a pedestal table. Oh, here's a coffee table. Or here's this canoe. Yes, a canoe. And I had this stuff up on Craigslist. And I was not, it wasn't selling. I listed it, I keyworded it and everything, and it just wasn't selling. Then I made a decision the other day that I was going to sell that shit. So I sat down and see, this is the thing about making the decision to do something. When you make the decision to do something, you activate different areas of your brain. Stuff just percolates. And I sat down and I was putting up my ads and it's like, hey, big ass coffee table, because that's what it is. The sucker was huge, right? 30 minutes. Got an email. Hour later, it was sold. Pedestal table. I was like your grandmother's pedestal table, and this big ass canoe. All that stuff sold in one freaking day. I did back down on the price, but it wasn't so much the price because I had backed down on the price before. And I realized I actually sold that stuff for more than I originally listed it because it's been up a few times. So essentially, the price of success is failure and learning from that failure, learning how to essentially keep pushing when life is throwing shit your way. Because I want you to think of life as this kid on the wall and you're trying to climb up on the wall, right? And life is throwing eggs at you, it's throwing rocks at you, it's throwing all kinds of stuff. Shit, life may even be peeing on you as you're trying to get up that wall. Now there's two things you can do. You can like, fuck this, I'm not going up this wall anymore. And you come off the wall and life's sitting up there on the wall just waving at you like, ha ha ha. Or you could just say, fuck this, I'm gonna go through this stuff. I'm gonna make it. If you look at the Shawshank Redemption, where dude crawled through the pipe for freedom. I mean, that's a serious price for freedom. You got to crawl through this. I don't even know how long this tunnel was to get to the outside of shit, feces, piss, rats. Who knows? Maybe scorpion, snakes. Who knows what was in there? You had to climb through all that stuff to become free. After he left all evidence where he imploded, made the prison implode upon itself. But essentially, if you're looking for an easy path, and that does seem to be the thing that throws people, because folks are looking for a cookie cutter solution to unique success, which is just dumb as fuck. You're not going to do cookie cutter solutions and get some unique yield out of the process, because it's cookie cutter and it's designed for most people. And since it's designed for most people, just take anything that take certain things that you buy, and because they're designed for most people, they don't really fit you in the manner that you want, and you customize them. That's why if cyclists have all of this custom stuff, custom bicycle seats, custom forks, there's so many things that are custom because we're all different. But if you're looking for the same path, even with my business, when I write a book, I write the books as broad as possible, because if I wrote the book for high intellect people, then all the middle to lower intellect people are like, what the fuck? And if I wrote the book for the lower intellect people, then the middle and high intellect people are like, what the fuck? So I just write it for the middle. And if you want something additional, if you need something special, you need that stuff, then you need a consult. Which people are like, I don't really want to do that. I really, hey Glendon, could you just pick up the phone and talk to me for 15 minutes? For 15 minutes, man. Come on, just 15. 15 minutes, I can write 500 words on a good burn. 500 words. That's it could be some of the best 500 words of my life. So 15 minutes is very valuable to me. And that's another thing. I would love to talk to more of you, but once again, the consult deal. That's the best way to reach me because there's so much stuff that's going on. Let's take yesterday, the whole thing, and actually, this is a good thing because I learned to create a better process. Something happened with an email going out for the YouTube training, and no one signed up. Well, it was around 12:30, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to do the presentation. I'm going to record it, and I'm going to upload it to Gumroad. So they may not get it at 3. They'll actually get it earlier. Well, actually, that didn't work out because the power went off in my office. So the video's uploaded, right? I'm in the gym and I'm on my phone trying to like go ahead and release it. And I was just like, okay, I know I set that up before I left, and I come back, then the power's off in the office. Only the office, but lights on everywhere else. But the office, the outlets are not working in the office. I call that gremlins in the machine. I'm just like, okay, so I do what I have to do, get the power back on the office, and I go ahead and upload it, and I send it out. This is the price of success. There are many people when I talk about some of the stuff that I went through in the beginning of doing this, it's like, man, fuck that. That's just, who got time? You know what, Sweet Brown? Who got time for that? You do. You have time for that. Everyone has time for it. The question is, do you want to deal with it? Because part of that whole snafu, and anytime, just if you're going to do webinars, anything live, understand stuff can happen. Stuff can happen. So you got to have a backup plan. And my backup plan is, something happens, I've got, I don't even use the go-to webinar recording software because, most of the time it works. But if you're doing something really good and it's a burner of a webinar and it screws up, you're pissed because it's like you can't recapture that moment. But I use, I have ScreenFlow, and boosh, solve that problem. So regardless of the webinar going haywire, regardless of people not showing up, the deal gets done. And that's the price of success, is figuring out how to be successful when life, the kid up on the wall, is throwing eggs at you or pissing on you or doing all this stuff, because it's, life's not going to stop doing that. It's just not. I mean, it's going to throw you curves. It's going to throw stuff at you. And when you allow your spirit to become weak, you can miss really killer opportunities because your spirit is weak. You're looking at what's going on as some type of seriously bad thing when it's not a bad thing. It's just how life operates. Some of the best opportunities in the world are covered in mud. They're covered in junk. They're covered in shit. But because you were expecting the road to be easy and you don't want to pay the price of success, then for some reason you start saying things like, it wasn't meant to be. Well, God didn't want me to have that. And all this other weak-minded bullshit. Because essentially, one of the things, and I tested this, if you understand the powers of universal law, you understand the power of making a choice, you could be a downright evil ass person and being extremely successful on a relationship level, on a financial level, on a world level. And you can be an extremely humble and sweet and kind person and be homeless, broke, and the world doesn't give a fuck who you are. And many people think those two go along. Like, if you're a good person, the world's going to care about you. No, it's not. If you're a bad person, the world's going to hate you. No, not necessarily. We are confronted with evidence of what I just said every day, but people refuse. No, Glendon, it's not like that. It's not like that. Yeah, yes, it is like that. And that's one of the prices of success, is getting over yourself and dealing with the world the way that it is versus the way that you want it to be. Many people get caught up in this thing of, oh God, it's just not fair. And I will agree with you, fairness has nothing to do with it. If you're stuck on fair, you are in a world of trouble. You have a lot of problems, and life is going to be very unkind to you for a very, very long period of time because essentially fairness is for suckers. If you're just like, we're going to make this fair, just take what's going on with minimum wage. And yeah, you hear this all of the time from people who don't own businesses. Well, a company should pay a living wage. Let me break down how you're paid. Unless there is some social engineering in broadcast, you're paid based on how easy it is to replace you. If it takes a lot to replace you, i.e., surgeon, you make a lot. If it doesn't take much to replace you, general labor, someone that moves rocks from point A to point B, your minimum wage. And what you should pull from that is you should make yourself very hard to replace. The more difficult it is to replace you, the more money you're going to make. And the quickest path to getting to robust income is to start your own business. And when I say quick, we're talking about years. For some people, and there's going to be some people, they'll do it in months, they'll do it in weeks, but for most of us, it's going to take a few years. But if you work on your business for 5 years, and in the fifth year mark, you start throwing off personal income of 250, 300, 400, 500, $600,000. And before you started that business, the most you've ever made was like maybe 35 to 45. Those 5 years, you get more in year five. And understand, you're getting paid from year one to year five, but you get more in year five than you made in 10, yeah, maybe 5 or 10 years of what you were previously making. You get that in 1 year. And let's talk about that some more. Say your business doesn't last forever and ever. That's very real possibility. But since you're at a high income level, if you pull that off for 5 years, you're out the game. You can't get out the game with a job like that. You can get out the game with a business. I know many people who are out the game. I know a guy recently who sold his business. He didn't make to me, make killer money. To you, it may not be killer money because it's not lottery style, but he sold his business for $2.8 million. That's what he sold it for. Excuse me. So after taxes and all this other stuff, I understand he did a few things with his business money. His house paid off. No car notes, paid off. All this stuff, he actually put, he has young kids. He actually put $250,000 in an account for both of them for life. He didn't call it a college fund. It's a life fund. Done. House, college, boom, boom. And more than likely 2.2 million after taxes on the sale. He's out the game. He's out the game. He's going to do some other game. He's just not going to sit at home and do anything because he's a relatively young guy. But he's playing a different game. When you're playing a rat race game, that is a depressing game to play because, one, even if you know the rules, you still don't control the board until you get to a certain level in that game. And if you're on that pedestrian, worker rat, you have no options. I sat down and I really thought about what happened when I was in the military, and this is officer who just was completely inappropriate with me, but he didn't break any regulations, but what he did was wrong. And I had to just suck it up because of positional leadership. He was an asshole. He was doing things wrong, but because of the virtue of his position of leadership, I had to deal with it. And I remember saying to myself, I can't go through my life doing this shit. And that's where many of you are. You're dealing with an idiot from a positional leadership standpoint who doesn't respect you, doesn't like you, isn't a good leader. And this person has a lot of power over your paycheck. Will you really, really think about what you have to do, what you have to deal with to keep your job sometimes? It's really not cool. It's not even close to cool. But that is the design of the rat race. So to be really successful, you've got to ask yourself, are you going to pick up that rock out the road? Are you going to cut down those bushes on that path? And I will tell you this, and I said this in, I think, one of my first books. The best path is when you blaze on your own. You know, you always hear this stuff. There's nothing new under the sun. Um, this thing didn't exist 20 years ago. So that was new under the sun. MacBook Pros didn't exist, a decade ago. There are things that are new under the sun. So don't tell yourself, like, oh, I can't do anything new under the sun. Don't get caught up in that, because I think part of it is that people want to do something so radical, so ooh, wait, that is so different, that they forget that you can do something a little new under the sun, or you can put a new wrinkle in the elephant and become really successful. People are looking for leaps of success. Here it is. Your name's Joe. You're in your grandmother's basement. You're not really doing anything. And before you lift a figure or to do anything, you know that you just got to be a guarantee that I'm getting out of this basement. I'm going to go ahead and have this house. I'm going to have this blonde, or I'm going to have this brunette, or whatever the hell you like, whatever turns you on. I'm going to have all this stuff in 90 days. Otherwise, I'm not going to spend that $39.99. No, 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 no. That's just for my $39.99. I've got to get life changing, life altering information, because, and that's something I thought about. There are many people that want information that will change their lives for little or nothing. And I really thought about it, and I've touched on this point before. It isn't the money. It's never the money. It's the commitment. That's one of the things. It's the commitment, because I'm of a different mindset. If I read a book or I take a course, and I took a course, it was like $1,500, and I came out of that course with about 6 different things that I'm still using today that have made me way more than $1,500. But have I made like $1 million from this stuff? No, I have not. But what I paid and what I'm yielding, because my perspective is reasonable, I'm very happy, and I would do it again, because it was well worth the time. It was well worth the money, because I've gotten my money back several times over. But many of you are like, if I can't get 100 return, or 1,000 return, or 1,000,000 return, I'm not spending the money. Really, that's just a way of your scared little bitchness to keep you where you are, because you're thinking, well, if I don't get maximum value, well, there's really no point in spending any money for this product or that product, or one. No, it's got to be. No, really what it is you ain't shit, and you will not perform. You will not pay the price of success. Therefore, you don't spend the money, and you put it under the guise of, and that stuff's too expensive. And I'm going to tell you why I know this to be the case, because a few years ago, when I was doing Kindle, and I just returned to Kindle, I put out several of my books that I knew to be effective for free. And people got downloads, and more people was like, hey, can I get any more free books? And that was the whole thing. Can I get for free? And I just sat back and I waited, and I waited, and I waited for the emails to come from the people who took this free information that was actionable and did something with it. And I waited, and I waited, and I waited. I got a handful. Then I looked at the number of emails I get for people who pay for the information. And hands down, the people who pay for the information, I get way more emails from those folks, because when they put down that price for success, they also put down a commitment. When you get something for free, you don't have to make a commitment, and you've not lost anything, not even your time. Because a lot of people, when people get stuff for free, they don't read it, they don't use it, so they didn't lose any money, they didn't lose their time, they didn't pay any price for success. They paid no price. And then they were like, it's just not working out. I don't know. I do all of this stuff, and it's just not working out. It's just, I don't know. I can't figure it out. I got the book. I read 2 pages. Maybe his kung fu is better than mine. No, fuck that. His kung fu is not better than mine. And that kind of stupid human trick, because essentially you have to pay some type of price to be successful. There's no way around it. There's none. And many people are just not really feeling that whole price thing. There's like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Now let's talk about the YouTube stuff that's coming up, because I really stumbled into my process. I really stumbled into it. And as I was putting together the course and the materials, I just realized that I did a great deal of experimentation. To this day, I still do experimentation. I put up videos and y'all go, we don't like those. And I put videos and it's like, yay, we like this. We want more of these and stuff like that. But you cannot get so comfortable that you're afraid to fail. I mean, I've changed up this channel several times, and if need be, I'll do it again and again and again, because I'm looking at the price of success. The price of success tomorrow may mean pissing off, 10% of you today, where you leave and never ever watch another Glendon Cameron video. Whereas a year from now, I'll gain a 40, 50% return on subscribers, money, and whatnot, because I made that change. I saw that with the Hustlers Mindset Project. I actually made more money a year later because I started it. And I saw that with some other training I did, because that's one of the things you have to, I'll break that. One of the reasons you have to get started doing something is so you get data. When you're just sitting there hypothesizing that, oh, this should work, or this is going to be good, you're not getting data. You don't get the juicy stuff that you can make better decisions. Because let's take something that I routinely do. And everyone that is a big YouTuber will tell you, keep your videos short. I've never done that. From day one, I've gone totally against that grain. Other day, a few weeks ago, I had a call from YouTube and was talking to one of the reps. She was very nice, helpful. YouTube likes longer videos. Now, and this, one of the published things is 9 to 12 minutes. For years, people have put out shorter videos, just shorter videos, but YouTube likes longer videos. You want to know why? Because YouTube is evolving. YouTube wants to position itself. You're going to have at some point some pay-per-view type action like Netflix or other stuff on YouTube. It's just, be with a few content creators. More than likely, it's going to be more professional stuff. And that's the reason they've made this huge investment in Maker Studio and all the stuff, because they realize that there are people, and they could be someone like you who's willing to pay the price of success, that can make these web shows that are going to make millions of dollars. They position themselves for that. So if you are a content creator and you've conditioned yourself to make 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minute videos, you're not going to be part of that larger process because your content's not long enough. It's really funny. And this is one of the things about paying the price of success and charting your own way. By having a process and goals, regardless of trends, you just keep straight on doing your thing, and you'll benefit at some point when the trends revert and they say, oh, we like you. And then they'll go away and say, oh, we don't like you, but you're still doing your thing. And that's one of the things, because many people are looking at people here on YouTube who have no idea how they were successful. I talk about that in the training. I was like, I figured it out when I first came on, and that's one of the reasons I started doing things differently, because they didn't know how they were successful. They couldn't even I did X, Y. No, I had to figure it out, and it took me months of research. And I just put this YouTuber here, this YouTuber, and it's like, oh, and then certain trends emerged, and it was like, that's it. It was it. And I was like, oh, okay, and I'm not doing that, and that no longer works. But this is something you should know about YouTube. The ecosystem, once you get to a certain level, it pushes you up, and it recommends you. Your content can be crappy. It can be horrid. But since you're so far up the food chain and you have so many people in your tribe that like you, you just stay at that level. And it's very hard for someone new to get to that level because of that. So just some things you should know. Now, another thing about paying the price of success is changing your lifestyle to set yourself up to reach your dream. This is huge. Huge, huge, huge. I've told many people this several times. It's like, okay, if you want to chase that dream, you want to build that business, you may need to sell your car. You may need to sell your house and move to a smaller place. You may need to get out of your apartment and move in with your parents and say, look, folks, this is what I'm doing. I've got this business. What I want to do is use the money that was paying for rent. Most of it, I'll kick you 250 something. Don't go there and be a bum. But those are the prices. So success that a lot of people just, it's like, I'm going to start this business. I'm going to keep this apartment. I'm going to keep the Bentley and the giraffe and Boo Boo the monkey because I like him. I'm going to keep all that stuff, and I am going to continue to chase this dream. And the thing is, you can't live the dream and chase the dream at the same time. That's an issue. Because when you do that, you create a situation where you okay, that was funny. Where you are there we go. You create a situation where you're doing triple duty. You're trying to chase the dream, you're trying to live the dream, and then you're trying to recover from doing those two things. So that's essentially a problem. But typically, what you want to do is go ahead and think about paying the price for success. What is that price you're going to pay? I mean, how bad do you want it? Do you want your dream, your passion? And this is why I call bullshit on the passion movement. I'm real passionate about, picking grapes. Are you going to like pack up your belongings and go to Italy, Naples, and or wherever the hell they grow grapes and just go there and sample the best grapes? Are you going to? There are people who do that. Those people they're real about, paying a price for their success. They're very real. I have a friend. He's not here in Atlanta anymore. He actually went to Africa, hung out in Africa in the vineyards to learn about grapes and stuff. And he's one of those people that people paid for wine tastings and stuff. He actually did all that stuff. I mean, there are many of you who will not leave your city to go to another city because you're scared. Imagine being a young man leaving Atlanta, going to Africa in the bush to deal with grapes. So typically when you want to go ahead and feel some success, you got to ask yourself, are you going to pay the price? Are you going to pay the price? Are you willing to look bad? Are you willing to make some mistakes? Are you willing to actually lose your freaking mind for a brief spell to be successful? Because the new thing is, and this is something I've looked at, the people who are making the money and the people who are very, very successful now are doing stuff that is so different. There's a whole new movement. Part of it is like this non-retirement thing. Everyone's like, hey, I want to go ahead and make a gang of money, sit down on my ass, do nothing, and rock on the front porch and look at life go by. People are not retiring like that. I live in a neighborhood that's pretty well off, and I noticed that the older people, they don't do that stuff. They're busy, they're active, they have things to do. They're not just. And there's one guy, he just starts being supposed to be retired. He starts businesses for fun. That's the new retirement. None of this just sitting around like. The biggest thing is, and this is something that you can do if you start a business. It won't happen in the beginning, but gain control of your time. Once you gain control of your time, you're 50%, 60%, maybe 70% retired. Once you start gaining control of your time, start doing what you want to do when you want to do. At that point, you start to, oh, this is what retirement feels like. Oh, this is okay. I like this. I like this. It's just some things for you to think about. So ask yourself, are you willing to pay the price of success? Are you willing to deal with the bullshit? The little kid up on the wall who's pissing on your head, who's taunting you, who's making fun of you, who's just being really, really nasty. That's life. And then you get over that wall, and then there's the valley, and it's like, there's giraffe serving Kool-Aid, and there's a buffalo that talks French, and there's all kinds of good stuff over there, but you wouldn't see it or know it until you get over that wall from dealing with all the stuff that life is throwing your way. Just something for you to think about. All right, so if you like the content, It's going to be either here or here. I don't know where it's going to be. It's going to be on one of these sides. There'll be some blocks. Go ahead and make sure to get your free audiobook, The Hustler's Mindset, Pimp Your Mind for Success. Join Hustlers University. And there's some other training there. There's Hustlers Camp, Hustler Lectures. There's the Hustler's Mindset, Strengthening Your Mind. And then there's 30 days to $2,500. And I'll go ahead and put the YouTube thing there because that's all set up. And that is going to be really, really interesting. A lot of different training there because that's going to go on the rest of this week. There's going to be a session today, tomorrow, every day, 3 to 4 p.m. But if you can't make it, it'll be recorded. So, and I'll be periodically adding new content to it as I learn more because, YouTube is very useful to me and I stay up on top of it. And I'll just do a presentation and just add it there. So you definitely want to get in now because right now it's being built. The ebook's done. The ebook's proofed. It's actually on Amazon if you just want the ebook. And once I get this course together, I'm changing the price. So you can get in right now, hit that link, $29, and you're good to go. After that, it changes to something else. And you'll get the ebook and you'll get all the presentations and all this other stuff for this week. All right, so this is Glendon. Hopefully you enjoyed the early AM hustle, and I will see you on the good side.